It's a concept that completely changed the game for me, that made me go from a person who was underperforming at a junior engineer role to the point where I got laid off to overperforming at a mid-level role, at least from my most recent reviews, overperforming my current role as a mid-level engineer. I actually believe I'm performing at a senior level engineer right now. If you are already performing really well at your job, then you should actually just click away from this video. This thing I remember from high school, back when I used to play a bunch of tennis. I was always a tennis player who had multiple styles of play. I would have a very defensive style where I would just keep the ball in play. Sometimes I would serve and volley. A lot of players have weaker backhands than forehands, but I used to have a stronger backhand than forehand. So sometimes I would try to get people into a cross-court backhand rally and then suddenly go down the line. But anyway, I had different strategies, but one of my coaches would tell me, if you're winning, don't change your strategy. If you find something that works, just keep going. So that's a long-winded way of saying, if you already are doing really well at work, then I recommend you click away from this video. Keep doing what's working. Now, for those of you who are still here, the realization that made all the difference for me was understanding the difference between macro focus and micro focus. So macro focus, so once I understood the difference between these, it really changed everything for me, because I was completely neglecting macro focus. So I'm going to define these terms, and then I'm going to share with you how you can actually improve each one. So let's get into this. So micro focus is the focus that we all think about. It's the ability to concentrate on a task for a substantial amount of time. It's the ability to not have very many thoughts that are unrelated to the task. So if I'm sitting down and I want to complete a feature, a software feature, if I have many thoughts unrelated to the task, if I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after work, if I'm thinking about what I'm going to do this weekend, if I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat, if I'm thinking about all these other things, my micro focus is weak at that time. So I'm not going to be able to complete the task as well. But if my micro focus is very strong, I have very few thoughts unrelated to the task, or if I have a few thoughts unrelated to the task, I'm able to quickly come back to the task at hand. That is micro focus. Macro focus is this ability to, in a longer period of time, let's say a few months, this ability to only have one or two or three, maybe three, but I would say one or two things going on that you're trying to move forward. So this is what I really neglected. I'll give you an example. When I was not doing well at that junior engineer position, my macro focus was horrible. My micro focus also was a lot weaker than it is today, but my macro focus was exceptionally bad. I was taking karate lessons, I was taking guitar lessons, I was taking Hindi lessons, I was trying to also improve my Spanish and doing a job on top of that. I'm pretty sure there was something else in the wings too that I was doing. I can't even remember it, because I was so ambitious. I was so excited to grow and to learn, but I was doing so many things that I was making progress at none of them. And what I was trying to do was improve my micro focus, thinking, okay, if I can just get my concentration better, I'll be able to do all of these. The truth is, there is time to do all of those things, but if you only have one or two, and there's a fire truck going by. The truth is, there's time to do all those things, but when your macro focus is really weak, it's really easy to get discouraged, because you're just making little bits of progress the whole time, instead of making a bunch of progress in one area and then moving to another area and making a bunch of progress. So right now, the way I structure my life is I have seasons where work is pretty much always a macro focus item, and then there's one other thing. The best way to improve micro focus, I think, is to read. If you can read for 30 minutes without really getting distracted, your micro focus is pretty good. If you can read for an hour without getting distracted, your micro focus is pretty good. So one thing that I like to do on the weekends is I go for an hour walk, and then I go to a coffee shop and read or meditate. If I'm able to do that, if I'm consistently doing that week after week, I can see my micro focus improving. So doing these things, keep being aware of macro focus, being aware of micro focus, and actively actively creating systems like the 12-week year to make sure my macro focus is dialed, and systems like and routines like going for a 1 hour walk and then reading, or 1 hour walk and then meditating once a weekend. Those types of things are going to just build your micro focus, and if you do that, you'll be unrecognizable. You'll go from, like me, you go from somebody who was really having trouble in corporate America to now actually doing a lot better. Again, there are still people who do a lot, even way better than me in corporate, but me compared to me a few years ago, it's just night and day how much better I got. So I thought I would share. I really hope you find this useful. You can apply this not just to corporate, you can apply this to anything, you know what I mean? If you are, I went through a season of life where I wasn't even working, and I really believe that season of life I would have gotten a lot more done. I got a lot done during that season, but I would have gotten even more done if my macro focus was a little bit more tuned in. If I take another sabbatical, I'm definitely going to apply this, where I'm only going to choose 1 or 2 things for a season and then just go all in on those, and then keep doing these micro focus routines, these cross training habits, if you will, which is exercise plus reading. So that's all I have for y'all. I really hope you found this video useful, and I'll talk to y'all on the next one.